Okay, my name's Lindsey Daniel, and this is my video assignment. First, I had the general warm up, and the first exercise or activity that I included in the general warm up was a jog. So I put the treadmill to 5, and this is a light jog for me. And I jogged for 5 minutes. Um, and the reason why I jogged was because I thought that it was a good activity to prepare for high intensity plyometric drills. And I have a lot of that in my exercise program. And I just did regular jogging. I know that there's different types of jogging that you can do. There's toe jogging, where you don't allow the heel to touch the ground. And the reason that people do this is to emphasize a quick reaction. And then there's also straight leg jogging, and this is not allowing or minimizing leg flexion and prepared for impact of plyometric drills. And then there's also butt kicks, which is a form of jogging. And this is flexing the knee to allow the heel to touch the butt. But for me, my workout is very general, so I just stuck with a general jog. Um, and the reason why warm up is so important, it's because it's now a almost universally accepted part of a training session. I don't think there's any training session that you'll do that doesn't include a warm up. And the main goal of this is to prepare the athlete mentally and physically for exercise competition. Um, and a well designed warm up can allow a number of physiological responses that can increase an athlete's performance. I think a lot of athletes can relate to, if you don't have a good warm up, then you won't have a good performance. So that's why warm up is so important. It kind of sets the tone for how you're going to do that day. If you're in a training session or if you are competing, the warm up kind of sets the tone for how it's going to go. And hopefully, it's a good warm up so you'll have a good performance. Um, there's a temperature related effect included, and this increases muscle temperature and core temperature. It also enhances neural function and the disruption of transient connective tissue bonds, while the non temperature related effects can include increased blood flow to muscles, which is a huge factor, and an elevation of baseline oxygen consumption and post activation potentiation, sorry. And warm up effects are best elicited via a type of warm up rather than a passive warm up technique. So, this is more like active things that will get you moving rather than just sitting and doing a stretch. Things to get your blood flow going. And the positive effects on performance may include, from doing a warm up, faster muscle contraction and relaxation of agonist and antagonist muscles, improvements in the rate of force development and reaction time, improvement in muscle strength and power, lowered viscous resistance in muscles and joints, improved oxygen delivery due to Bohr effect, whereby higher temperatures facilitate oxygen release from hemoglobin and myoglobin, increase blood flow to activate muscles, and enhance metabolic reactions. and also an increase in psychological preparedness for performance. Um, it's very clear that the major factors influencing potential improvements are the structure of the warm up and the specificity of the warm up. You do not want to have a warm up that is not specific to what you're doing, because then it won't show any purpose in your warm up and it won't help you benefit in your activity. So after this, I move on to skipping, and I'll move off of the treadmill and I'll go into a separate area which is more appropriate for that activity. So next I did A skips, B skips, and C skips. So first here is A skips. I have a tall stance and my torso is directly above my hips and knees. I have stacked joints. An A skip is a commonly prescribed sprint drill that is used to stimulate upright sprinting mechanics and vertical toe production. And so then I'm going to do another set of A skips. I'm driving my knee up and then pressing hard into the ground. One foot or one knee is always bent at a time. And then the forefoot to midfoot of the new stance leg should land under the hips, maintaining a stacked joint. And the arm should always move at the same time as the leg, with minimal pausing of the arm in between cycles. And then next, these are called B skips. They're a little different than A skips because whenever I bring my knee up, I then punch my foot forward. This could also go great with bounding drills, but this is allowing me to produce movement down into the ground and also forward. And then I do another set of B skips, maintaining a tall posture and an upright position. There's a bunch of different types of skips, but I think these are the most specific to what I'm doing. There's also backward skips and side skips, and these are all types of speed drills. So next are C skips, and these are my favorite because I look like I know what I'm doing when I do these. So it's kind of like a dancing pattern. I drive my knee up like I did with A skips, but I also then drive it to the side. And I find that these are great hip openers. I think these are the most effective skips of all three of the A, B, and C skips. These definitely are the most challenging skips, but this drill isolates the movement of the gait and the hurdle cycle, and it's often used in running, striding, or jumping over obstacles. So you'll see a lot of sprinters do this, and you can tell that I'm not a sprinter because I am very out of breath from this, but that's okay. With this drill, less is more because you want to focus on form and power, and then explosiveness will come with it. Yeah, and so then I did 2 sets of this, and then I come back down again. And this is the second exercise in my general warm-up. I am really having a hard time because I do not do exercises like this often. But with this exercise, you'll want to try to have a flexed foot whenever you come up. It can be hard because you're out of breath, but there's different phases in it. There's the starting position and then the movement phase. So the movement phase is obviously when I'm moving my foot or my knee. And I still, with all 3 of the skips, I'm maintaining stacked hips, straight torso. So the last thing I'm going to do in my general warm up is I'm going to bike on the assault bike for 5 minutes. And then with the bike, when setting this up and you have any type of equipment, you want to make sure that you have it set up to your height. So you see that the seat is not too tall or too short for me. I have it set to where my leg comes completely straight when I'm at the downward position, and my knee doesn't come too high to where it's hitting my chest. My knee comes just right a little above my hip. And the reason that I chose to do an assault bike rather than just a regular stationary bike is because I wanted it to, like, this is a general warm up. So I wanted it to be able to warm up my whole entire body and not just my legs. I find that this is a great warm up for my arms because my arms are also working as well as my torso and my legs. And it's also getting my blood pressure up, like I said earlier about the jogging. So for biking in a starting position, as I said, you want to begin by adjusting the seat so the knee of the extended leg is slightly bent, and this should be about 25 to 30 degrees at the bottom of the pedal stroke. The foot of the down leg should be flat and parallel to the floor with the balls of the feet in contact with the pedal, so you don't want to have your foot too far back. You also want to adjust the seat so the knee is over the center of the pedal on the extended leg and the hips do not rock back and forth during the pedaling. So you want to make sure that your hips are staying in the same spot. While maintaining a neutral spine position, you want to lean slightly forward at the hips. And for a regular bike, you would adjust the handlebars so that the arms are extended at a downward angle and there's a slight bend in the elbows. Ideally, the upper arm and torso will form an angle of approximately 90 degrees. And during the movement phase, you begin pedaling while keeping the balls of the feet in contact with the pedals throughout the duration of the exercise. You maintain a neutral posture and do not round the shoulders. With bullhorn handlebars, a variety of hand positions may be used. These include pronated, palms facing downwards, which allows a more upright position. And then there's neutral palms facing on the sides of the handlebars, encouraging a greater forward lean. And then there's the racing position with the forearms resting on the handlebars, creating maximum forward lean. And for me, I am in a pronated grip because I find that it's the easiest and most comfortable for me because I'm able to push and pull and use my whole arm to get my whole arm activated rather than just a specific area. So I'm working on my whole arm. And then for the in position, you slow down until the pedals have come to a complete stop, and then you step on the bike. You don't want to try to get off of the bike while it's still moving and then fall in front of everyone. But this is a great workout, or this is a great general warm-up because it gets my whole entire body warm. I feel like bikes are something that people don't really use in the gym as much as they should because it's a great whole body warm-up. And I did this for about 5 minutes. So before I did jogging for 5 minutes, then skipping, and then cycling for 5 minutes. And that will complete my general warm-up. Then I moved on to my specific warm-up, and I had marching, lunging, and the karaoke shuffle in these. So marching. I'll get started with my marching exercise or activity that I listed in my specific warm-up, I think that this is a great exercise to do if you want to focus on form and knee drive and hip extension, hip flexion, which I think is the most important thing when warming up, because you want to make sure your form is correct so you don't hurt yourself or break something down the line. So I did 5 sets of 10 marches, and I think this is a great amount. So this obviously mimics running movements, and it emphasizes posture and movement techniques. And this also enhances proper lower body movements of running. So this is a great warm up if you want to make sure your mechanics are in line and you're doing fine on that part. So these next exercise or activity that I'm doing for my warm up is lunges. I did 5 sets of 10 lunges, so that's down and back. Lunges, this is based on the forward step lunge exercise where you're just stationary, but this is a walking lunge. This can be multi-directional. You can do, and as you see, I'm just going forward. You can also do this sideways or backwards, and that'd be great if you wanted a bit longer of a warm-up. Maybe you were doing a higher intensity exercise segment. This is a great warm-up for the exercise that I'm doing. And then I'm just going to move into my next thing. I'm very sweaty. Then I'm going to do a karaoke shuffle. This is a great exercise if you want to maintain your athleticism. You want to create some shuffle power. And then I get into my main program segment. And my exercises are pretty general, so this should be pretty easy. So the first exercise I'm doing, this is called Stir the Pot. These next 3 exercises are all going to be variations of a plank. So as you see, I'm in a plank-like position, but my hands are bent on the ball. So I did 10 circles counterclockwise, and now I'm doing 10 circles clockwise. And I want to make sure my butt's low and I maintain a straight spine. And these are very hard. My next exercise is a plank holding a bent arm. So I just held this for about a minute or so. And with this, I want to make sure my body weight in my upper body is distributed on the top of the ball. I want to try to maintain that the whole time. I need to activate my core and try to stay on top of the ball the entire time. These are a bit hard, but they're very doable for everyone, general population. My feet are about shoulder width apart, and my spine, neck, and back, they're all neutral, and I just hold this, and I am shaking, and then I'm going to move into my last variation of a plank that I chose, which is a plank hold with straight arms. So for this, since it's variation, it's kind of similar. My arms are straight the entire time. My feet are about shoulder width apart. I want to make sure that I have my body weight over the center of the ball so I don't fall over. If I have my arms too far out in front of me, the ball will fall right out in front of me. If I have my arms too far to the back of me, my arms will fall right to the back of me. So I'm trying to stay in the middle, keep my arms in the middle of my chest area. I'm staying straight, I'm looking down, and I'm engaging my core to try to make this a little bit easier for myself. And this was the last variation of the plank exercise. So then for my lower body exercise for my Swiss ball, I chose to do a hamstring curl with my butt on the ground. And I think that this is a great exercise. It might not look that hard, but after a while you get a few of these going, your hamstrings start to burn, and that's exactly the point, right? So I'm maintaining a posterior tilt and engaging my core, and I'm driving my heels into the ball, and this is what kind of makes it a workout. I'm driving my heels into the ball and pulling back. So I did 10 of these. So I'm driving my heels in and I'm maintaining a straight spine. And then my next lower body exercise with the Swiss ball was the glute elevated hamstring curl. So to make these a little bit easier for myself, I widen my fingers to try to give myself a little bit more balance. I drive my heels into the ball, and I'm trying to keep my torso as high as I can, and I'm pulling my knees into a 90-degree angle, and I think that these are a great exercise. So my last and final variation of the hamstring curl using the Swiss ball is the single leg glute elevated hamstring curl. I have one leg in the air. I'm trying to keep my hips as high as I can. I did 5 on each leg because these are pretty hard, so you don't want to do that many. I'm digging my heel into the hamstring, or into the Swiss ball. I'm pulling back, trying to get a 90-degree angle. I could bring my hips a little bit higher, but these are hard. I'm not very good at them, but they're really good exercise overall. And those are it for the Swiss ball exercises. So the next modality that I chose to use was the TRX, or you could use the suspension cord. And so I chose to do push-ups. So these are push-ups with my knees on the ground and the TRX in my hands. And these are pretty hard because you don't have that balance from the floor. So I'm trying to make sure my spine is tight so I can not fall to the ground. And then for the second one, I had my knees on the ground and the TRX in my foot, and I am doing push-ups. This is kind of like an assisted push-up because the TRX kind of relieves some pressure off of my feet, and it helps me balance. I feel like I can get more push-ups in this way. Then I try to do it without being on the ground. And these are really hard, so this is the third and final one. My feet are in the TRX, the knees are off the ground, and I'm doing regular push-ups. Well, with the TRX, of course. And these are, I would say, a harder variation than regular push-ups because I don't have that balance from the ground. I did about 10 of them, and I had to try to maintain a neutral spine and neck the whole time and maintain a positive core. You want to have your hands a little bit further than shoulder width apart. You want to try to bring your elbows to a 90-degree angle, keep your chin tucked in, and keep your legs tight. Then for my lower body exercise, I chose to do lunges with the TRX. So this first one is an isometric hold with my back foot in the TRX. I held each foot for about 30 seconds and then I moved the angle so you could see it from the side to see what it should look like. So my midfoot is in the TRX. You want to make sure that your midfoot is in the TRX and it's not too far forward, because then your foot will slip out and you will hit your leg on the ground. So I'm trying to keep my chest up and hold this position. Then next I do it again. Now I think I am going to do pulse lunges. So this was my second exercise. So my back foot is in the TRX and I'm going down, then up and down and up, and these are pulse lunges. With these, I want to try to make my legs do a 90-90 position. And I did 10 on each leg. You can do these for about 3 sets. I go down and up, trying to maintain a 90, keeping my midfoot in the TRX, and also trying to keep my chest up. These can be hard since the TRX doesn't provide much support or balance, but that's why it's such a great workout. Then for my last and final lower body exercise with the TRX, I chose to do step back lunges with my hands holding the TRX. And this is a great exercise for your lower body. You also can engage your core by trying to push yourself back up. This is more like an assisted lunge. So that's why this is a great exercise. You want to not step back too far back, but you want to try to go to a 90-degree angle. And a common theme with these exercises is to have your head, neck, and spine in a aligned position. So for my exercise modality number 3, I chose bodyweight calisthenics. I'm not very good at push-ups or pull-ups, but that was me attempting to do a pull-up, and I have the band there. I will try to pull this band down. You can do a banded assisted pull-ups. So there's a lot of different ways. If someone can't do a pull-up, there's a lot of different ways that you can help them be able to do a push-up. So this green band is a pretty medium band. So I needed a little bit more support, but someone else was using the bigger band. So you can put your knee in that band and try to jump up to do a pull-up. It's pretty hard because I was pretty far away from the TRX. I try to get up there and pull up. Almost. Can't quite do it. But you can also, if I was a little bit higher, then I'd be able to do it, but I was just way too far away from the TRX. So I could not reach it in order to do the pull-up. And you just loop it around the bar, but if you want more support, you get a bigger loop. So now I just move locations to a different pull-up bar because I'm a lot closer to the pull-up bar. So for my upper body ones, I chose to do a regular grip, which that just was for pull-ups. And then I chose to do a closed grip, which is a little bit closer than a regular grip. So right at your shoulders, you're straight there. So you're going to want to jump on and pull up. You can do about 5 to 10 of these depending on your abilities. And so then with the wide grip is a little further than shoulder width apart. You can see I'm a little scared to jump up there, but I get it. Well, I did not get it. So I am going to try that again. So with the wide grip, it's a little bit wider, and you're going to want to make sure you engage your lats and you just pull right up. And I could have gone a little higher, but I'm tired at this point. So then for my next exercise modality for the body weight calisthenics, I chose to do hanging leg raises. So these are knee ups. I think these are great lower body exercise. You want to maintain a neutral core, squeeze your feet together, and for this you have to make sure you have proper grip strength. But if you don't, you can get wrist straps or something to help you, or there's probably plenty of assisted variations. The next one I chose to do was straight leg raises, so it's the same. It's still a hanging leg raise, but instead of having bent knees, I'm going to have straight legs. And then I chose to do knee twists. So it's the same position, but you're going to bring your knees up and hug them at your chest and move them side to side, making sure it's controlled and not too fast. And you want to do about 10 of these. A set of 10 would be good for all of these. So then for my exercise modality number 4, I chose resistance training using barbells, plates, and dumbbells. So the exercise I chose was to do a row. So this is a barbell row. Typically, I would choose the regular sized barbells with regular sized plates, but those were all taken, but this is perfectly fine. You don't have to grab your weights or anything, so you want to have a slight knee bend. You want to make sure you're pulling close to your legs, and you want to engage your lats and try to lock in your shoulders. Then the second variation of this was the cable row. This is my absolute favorite machine. You're going to want to pick your weight. Then you place your feet in these little areas for your feet. You grab the bar and you pull right towards your chest. With this, you also want to have a slight knee bend. You never want to lock out. You want to have pretty good grip on this and maintain a neutral back. For this exercise, you can have your back leaning a little bit further back. It doesn't have to be directly stacked on your hips for this. And this is a great exercise for your upper body. Then my next variation of a row that I chose to do was a dumbbell row. For this, you can do it with one dumbbell, or you can do both hands at the same time. You just want to make sure you stay close to your body. You keep your elbow in. You bend over a little bit. You have a slight flexion at the knee. And then I do the other side. You can do about 10 sets of these. And make sure your weight is close to your body. If you have heavier weight, you can put the arm you're not actively using onto something stationary to try to give you a little bit of balance. Then for exercise modality number 4, I chose for exercise modality number 4 for lower body, I chose to do a squat. So a squat is a pretty classic exercise. You can't go wrong with the squat. So this is a barbell squat. So I'm trying to make sure my shoulders are engaged. I'm trying to squat parallel to my knees or a little below my knees. I want to make sure that I'm grabbing the bar with a pretty firm grip. I don't want to make my chest fall too far forward, because then I will fail. I don't want to make my chest go too far back, then I'll fall backwards. I want to have my feet a little wider, slightly wider than my hips to try to give myself a good base to stand on, and then just re-rack. If I were actually doing this, I would have my safety bars a lot higher, so I could re-rack a little bit higher, but that's okay. So then next variation of the squat that I have is the heel elevated closed stance using a plate. So it's the same as a squat. It is a squat variation, but my heels are on the plate. This would allow me to target my quads a little bit more if you want to target something, if you don't want to just go for overall. So I did about 10 reps of these, and it's the same as the regular squat. I don't want to fall too far forward. I don't want to fall too far backwards. I want to keep my core engaged, and I want to have my butt go at my knees or below my knees. And this is a great exercise if you want to feel something in your quads. And then I need a re-rack. And the last exercise that I chose to do, it's not something that I do very often, but it's the overhead squat. So I have my barbell. I'm going to do like a little baby clean to try to get it up and above my head. I'm going to press. I'm going to make sure my core is engaged so I can squat and not have this barbell fall behind my head or in front of me and make any loud noises, because that would be so embarrassing. So I'm trying to, and for this, I have a little bit wider of a grip just to provide some stability for me as I'm squatting. And I did about 5 of these. You can do like 3 sets of 5. These are pretty engaging ones, so a little less reps are okay. Then for my exercise modality number 5, I chose to do rubber band exercises. So these are one of my favorite exercises. So this is a banded pull apart with a pronated grip. Pronated grip means that my fingers are facing downwards, and to make this harder, I could have grabbed closer to the center of the band. And then the next one that I chose to do, the second variation, is the banded pull apart with the supinated grip. This is also a pretty good exercise, and if I wanted to make it harder, I could have grabbed it closer to the center, or I could have grabbed a heavier band, or if I wanted to make it lighter, I can grab further away from the center, or grab a lighter band. And then for my last variation of my banded pull aparts, I have my banded pull aparts for overhead. I'm just going to grab the end of these and keep my arms straight over my head, try to engage my core and have straight arms. And you can do a lot of these, maybe about 20, 2 sets of 20, 3 sets of 20. Or if I want to make it harder, I could just grab a harder band. This is a lighter band than the one I had for the previous 2, just because this is a little bit more awkward of a position. So then, for my lower body exercise, for my rubber band exercises, I chose to do banded clamshells. So for this, I have my band, the same band that I used, and I put it slightly above my knees, and I'm going to lay at my side, and I'm going to have my heels together, my knees are bent, and I do 10 of these. And so I just open as wide as I can, and I would do this on both sides because only my right leg was working. Now I'm going to do my left leg For this, same thing. Knees bent, heels together, core engaged, and actively breathing. Then after this one, this was my first one. In my second variation, which it'll go to right now, I have clamshells with leg lift, or these are most commonly called standing clamshells. These are great exercise. My planted leg is slightly bent. I have my band in the same place that I had it with the sideline clamshells. I'm just gonna try to do the same thing, except for I'm not keeping my heels together. I'm opening up my hips. And if I wanted to make it harder, I could have gotten a heavier band. Or if I wanted to make it easier, I could have gotten a lighter band. And you gotta make sure you put it on there right, or else it'll slide up and slip and hurt you. And then for my third variation of banded clamshells, these are called reverse clamshells. So instead of the band being above my knees, the band is at my ankles, and I have my knees hugging a foam roller just to provide myself some separation, and I am pushing outward with the leg that is closer, or that is further from the ground. I am laying on my side, and I'm keeping my foot flexed, and I'm having my knee bent, and I did about 10 of these on each side. Then the next exercise modality that I chose to do was with a kettlebell. I chose to do bicep curls. So for the first variation, I chose a bicep curl with a pronated grip. That's when my hand is closed and it is facing towards the ground. And I did 10 of these on each arm. This kettlebell is small, but I didn't realize how heavy this was. This was me regretting how heavy of a kettlebell I picked up, because it looked small, but it was not light, which I was surprised by. Same thing, I'm just gonna bring my wrist pretty high, trying to not let myself swing at the bottom, because swinging is cheating. And then for the second set of bicep curls, I did with the supinated grip. So supinated is when my fist is facing upwards. It's just like a most common grip for a bicep curl. And then with these, I also did 10 sets on each arm. This is a great exercise for your bicep. It really targets the bicep. And then I do my other arm, trying not to swing super hard, trying to be controlled and keep my core engaged and stay strong. And that is it for the bicep curls, for the upper body exercises. So then I will get into the lower body exercises, still using, actually I did the bicep curl. This is my third one. This is my third variation. This is a bicep curl with the neutral grip. Neutral is just, it's not pronated, it's not supinated, it's right in the middle. And I also did about 10 on each arm for these, and I'm trying not to swing, but at this point I'm really tired. But I'm trying not to swing, I'm trying to stay tight, keep my core engaged. And then I did 10 on the other one, trying to stay stacked and trying not to swing and keeping a pronated grip. This is great because these hit all areas of the bicep while having pronated, supinated, and neutral grip. So I'd say a grip is a pretty important factor when you want to choose what bicep you're doing or what bicep curl you're trying to do. Then next, for my modality, I still have a kettlebell, and this is my lower body exercise. I'm going to do glute bridge with my back on the floor. I'm going to have the kettlebell right above my pelvis, and I'm going to do about 10 of these. I'm going to make sure, you can see, I'm going to try to drive my heels into the ground and push to where my knees are at almost a 90-degree angle. And I'm going to try to hold it for about a second, come back down, keep my core tight. And then for my second variation, I'll put that kettlebell down. You can use the same weight for all of these. For my second variation, I did a glute bridge, but instead of my back being on the floor, my upper back is on the bench. I'm going to have my kettlebell in about the same spot right above my pelvis. I'm going to be in a tabletop position. I'm going to come down as low as I can and try to drive myself right back up. This also keep driving through the heels. Come as low as you can. I honestly probably could have done a little bit heavier of a weight, but that's okay. I did a lot of exercises. And it's like a hinging motion almost. And this is one of my favorite exercises. This is a pretty good exercise. And then for my third variation of the lower body exercise with glute bridge with the kettlebell, I chose to do single leg glute bridges with the upper back on the bench. These are pretty good workout. So one foot is in the air and I am still doing a glute bridge. I did 5 on each leg. And you can do this for 3 sets. A little rest in between, catching my breath. And I'm gonna get right back at it after I catch my breath. And I guess I was just really tired from doing glute bridges. These are a great workout. It's one of my favorites. So I come right back down. I keep my foot planted, try not to move it around. Make sure I don't fall. Kettlebell in the same spot, foot in the air, back on the bench, right below the shoulder blades. Great workout. And then that'll do it for my exercises. Now on to the cool down. So now I'm in the cool down segment where I'm doing more static stretching. So first I chose to do a sitting toe touch, and I chose to do this for 2 minutes. For this, I'm sitting with my upper body. I'm trying to make it nearly vertical to my legs, and my legs are straight. I am leaning forward using hip flexion and attempting to grasp the toes with my hand. If I could reach, I could slightly pull the toes forward to the upper body and pull the chest towards the legs. I'm trying to reach my toes. Not quite there yet, but I'm trying to get there. And because I have limited flexibility, I am trying to grab the ankles. It's not quite there yet either, but it's okay. And this is a great a great stretch for my hamstrings. And there's many types of this. I can even do a figure 4, but this is great because it's just an overall great stretch for my hamstring. This is formed on the ground always, or you can do this standing up with your feet on the ground, bending over. And to perform this stretch statically, I need to sit on the ground and lean forward at the waist. And this was the first stretch for my cool down. And then for my next stretching method, I am doing the cross arm in front of chest, and I'm doing this 1 minute per arm, which I think is a good amount of time to stretch this. This is a good stretch for the posterior delt, the rhomboid, and the middle trapezius. So you can either do this standing or sitting with the elbow slightly flexed at a 15 to 30 degree, and the arm is across the body. This is called shoulder and horizontal adduction, and I'm going to grab the upper arm, or I'm going to switch sides, so now I'm doing a minute on the other side. And while doing this, I'm going to grab the upper arm just above the elbow, and I'm placing the right hand on the posterior side of my arm. I'm going to pull my left arm across the chest towards the right with the right hand. So while I'm doing this, I'm actively pulling my arm to try to give myself a better stretch than I can do on my own. So I'm actively pulling and getting a really good stretch in my shoulders. And I think this is one of my favorite stretches because it's a classic overall arm stretch for your shoulder. And as I said, I did this for 1 minute on each arm, so that'd be 2 minutes total for this exercise. And this was the second exercise in my cool down / final stretching. So this is the third stretch for my cool down / final stretching segment. So this is called the spinal twist, and it's more commonly known as the pretzel. So as you can see, my left foot is straight out, my right foot is over my left foot, and I have my left arm anchored over my right foot, and my right arm is reached as far back as I can. And I guess we can see why this is called the pretzel, because I'm just all over the place. I'm very intertwined with myself. So I did this for 1 minute on my right side, and then I'm going to switch to the other side. I'm going to just have everything the opposite. This is great. So with this, I'm sitting with the legs straight and the upper body nearly vertical, and I'm placing the right foot to the left side of the left knee. I place the hand on the back of the elbow with the right side of the right knee, which is now bent. I place the right palm onto the floor about 12 to 16 inches, which is 30 to 40 centimeters, behind my hips. I am pushing the right knee to the left with the elbow while turning the shoulder and head to the right as far as possible. And with this, I should be trying to look behind me to try to get even more of a stretch if I needed. This next stretch that I'm doing is called the forward lunge. It's also known as the fencer. So I'm going to do this about 1 minute per side. I am making sure my phone doesn't turn off, recording this. So this is a forward lunge. This is a great stretch for the hips. So you start standing, you take a long step forward with the right leg and flex the right knee until it is directly over the right foot in the free weight lunge exercise. I am keeping the right foot flat on the floor, keeping the back leg straight, keeping the back foot pointed in the same direction as the front foot. It is not necessary to have the heel on the floor. I'm going to switch legs. I am keeping the torso upright. I'm resting the hands on the hips or the front leg. I am slowly lowering the hips forward and downward, and this is a great stretch for my rectus femoris and my iliopsoas. And this is a classic stretch. A great variation of this would be a supine knee flex. It also stretches the hips pretty well, but I would say that if I were to choose, this would be my stretch of choice. And that is my fourth stretch in my cool down segment. And I will move on to the next one right now. This is my fifth and second to last stretch. This is called the seated lean back. I am doing this for 1 minute. This is a great exercise because it stretches the right and the left side at the same time, which is really nice. This stretches the deltoids and the pectoralis major. I'm sitting with the legs straight and arms extended. I'm placing my arms on the floor about 12 inches, which is about 30 centimeters behind my hips. I am pointing the fingers away from the body, which is backwards, and I am sliding the hands backward and leaning backward as much as I can. I'm pretty flexible in this element. I feel like I'm pretty close to the floor, so I'm doing a pretty good job. And so then I will move to the final stretch that I'm doing, and I just showed you can just walk up to any wall. This is a calf wall stretch. I'll move and show you a closer angle of what my calf actually looks like. I wanted to show you my whole body, and this is what my calf is actually looking like. I chose to do this 1 minute per leg, and this is a great exercise, a great finisher for anyone that was doing any sort of extenuous lower body exercises, which I was during this training program. So I am standing facing the wall with my feet shoulder width apart. My toes are approximately 2 feet from the wall. My foot is on the wall. My other foot is 2 feet from the wall. I am leaning forward, placing my hands on the wall, and I am stepping back with my foot that is not touching the wall. I extend the knee and stretch the lower heel to the floor to apply the stretch. And the more you need to feel it, the more you can lean into it. And this is a great stretch for your... So I finished with my left one, and now I'm going to start on my right one for another minute. And this is a great stretch for my gastrocnemius and my soleus, and is also a really great exercise for my Achilles tendon. And you can also do a great stretch on your Achilles tendon. You can apply 10 degrees of knee flexion, and that will target more of my Achilles tendon. So this is my last and final stretch of my cool down. I thought this exercise segment was pretty good. I thought my stretches were targeted pretty well to my exercises. And I know that I am going to be a little bit less sore tomorrow because of the stretches that I did. And so that is my project complete. Thank you so much.